All right, so I got lots of people on here from India, from Italy, from Trinidad, from Texas, from Colorado, from Spain, from Ireland, Philadelphia, Texas, Canada, Buffalo. Once again, man, we just bring them from everywhere. Arkansas, welcome. Las Vegas is on board. Tampa, Jenna, what's up? Chicago, Boston's on board. East Texas, Venezuela is on board. Virginia, Illinois, and Kansas is on board. Iowa's on board. Man, this is so cool to see everybody from all over. And it just goes to show you, man, education, you can learn from anyone. There's always something to learn. I know as a teacher, I must never cease to learn. As a hairdresser, we must never cease to learn. So thank you, Canada, Indiana, Bahamas. Yes, Bahamas. I want to go to the Bahamas. I'm due for a vacation. I just need to get on a plane. Okay, Indiana, Chattanooga, Indianapolis, and the list goes on. Israel, welcome. All right, so let's get started here, guys. I'm not sure how short I want to go. Or you're going in and you're cutting a fringe and you're thinking, well, how long do I leave it or how short do I cut it? Or maybe Argentina, the UK, or maybe you're working into the top. What's up, Montreal? Maybe you're working up in the top of the crown area and you're wondering, how short should I take it here? So that's what this is about today. It's about the long and the short of it. And I want to go back to the first question that I saw really early this morning. She logged in, and that's from Thane, I think. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. I want to know how to cut a wavy haircut like short, but it never stays in place. Am I asking for the impossible? Let me just share this with you. One key phrase I see there, guys, is it never stays in place. So I just want you to know, my dear, products is not an option. It's a necessity. And you can have a great haircut, but without product, it doesn't perform. You can have a mediocre haircut, and with product, it's going to perform. So I want you to understand, sometimes it's not so much just in the haircut. A lot of times it's in the product and how you're using product, or if you're even using product. So that's important. We've got a school on board. Okay, we've got Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Strand College. Welcome. Glad you guys are here with us. All right, so here's what I want to talk about.
Sammy, Strand College. I got to give them a personal shout out. They're friends of ours. They're our partners. Hello, guys. Good to see you.
All right. So what I want to talk about is I want to talk about length first, okay, and just give you some ideas in regards to that. So let me just put up a blank flip chart. And has this ever happened to you? Because it happened to me once. I had a client come in once, and she said, Sam, I want to take it all off. I want to go short. And guys, her hair was down to here. And she said, I want a pixie. I want to go short. Now, let me just warn you something on here. Really hear what I have to say. When someone comes in like that, there's something emotional going on, which is why they're saying to you, I love you too, Laura, which is why they're saying, take it off. Maybe they're going through a divorce. Maybe they're going through a separation. Maybe they just had something occur in their life that's affected them. So I say, don't do it. Don't take anyone from here to there. Unless they're very, 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 very demanding and forceful about it. But I recommend what you do is, if you ever do that, because I did it once. I had a client to here. She said, I want a pixie. I cut it all off, and I never saw her again. Get that? I never saw her again. So what I'm going to suggest is, when some people say to you, they say, I want to go take it from here, and I want to take it short. My suggestion is to remember this. Communication builds your wealth. So now, what do you mean by that, Sam? So what would you do? What would I do? I would go, okay, let's, so it sounds to me you're ready for a change. That's the key thing. They want to change. So let's talk about that. Let's go in and let's gradually work to that pixie so we get a various amount of looks out of you. So let's go through and let's layer this out. Once we layer that out, let's cut it into a bob. Once we cut it into a bob, let's cut it from short to long. Once we do that, then let's go to pixie. Now, here's why I'm suggesting that. Because along the line, they're going to fall in love with something. And also, I want to take it back. If I take it all off, sometimes they regret it. And that's sometimes why you never see them again. They start letting everything grow out. So what I'm trying to share with you here is get the client long-term. Long-term. So gradually work to what the end result is. Is this making sense, guys? If you're with me so far, just type yes in the chat, okay? I had one cry after our consultation. Her friend told her to go short over the phone. Dot, I agree. You know, sometimes they just there's emotion going on. So you have to really, really understand. Hi, Debbie. Glad you're back again, man. You just can't get enough. We're glad to see you again. Yesterday and the day before were awesome, Debbie. So I have to say, guys, you have to really understand that it's really important that you communicate. Communication builds your wealth. So now, Sam, how does that communication process begin? It begins with your knowledge, sharing the knowledge. Let me give you an example. And this works for fine here. So understand that. So let's just go to a blank flip chart. I've got one right here, and I want to talk to you about something. Okay. Let's say that, so that just for simplicity's sake, let's say that's in 1/2 inch. Okay. So I'm just going to draw strands of hair. Okay. That's strands of hair. Now, the average growth, this is national average, guys. Now, not everybody's hair does this. Let's just talk for a moment, okay? The national average growth of hair is 1/2 inch a month. For simplicity's sake, we're going to say that's in 1/2 inch a month. So this is where I cut her to. So let's say I cut her there, and then it grows 1/2 inch a month. So let's go 1/2 inch a month, okay? So that's 1 month, okay? Then it's another month goes by. There's another 1/2 inch. That's the second month. Now, this is average, guys. So if a client comes into me and they say, Sam, I want to grow my layers out. Okay. Now, let's just me and you right now. The easiest way to grow the layers out is the shorter I cut this, the quicker the layers get there. Did that make sense? Right? Yes, if it did. Okay. So if someone said to me, Sam, I want to grow my layers out and their hair is layered. So what I'm going to tell her is, I'm going to show you, okay? So what I'm going to tell her is I'm going to say, okay, you want to grow these layers out? Okay. So the shorter we take this, the quicker all of this is going to get there. And all of this will get there. Then she says to me, no. I don't want to go short. See, so that's not the priority to grow this out. The priority is to what? She wants to keep her length. She doesn't really want it. But also the secondary is, I want to grow these layers out. So now this is where this conversation comes in that I'm going to share with you right now. Remember, we're talking about the long and the short of it. Long or short, or where do I go? Okay. So if I tell her, okay, here's what we need to do. I'm going to explain this to her. And then to really create an experience in the salon, grab a dry erase marker and do this on the salon mirror. And when you do that, guys, they're just looking and going, nobody's ever taken the time to explain this to me. That's an experience. That's how you're going to hold on to that client, and you're going to retain that client, but you're also going to get new referrals because of your communication skills. And you're taking the time to not only talk about it, but you're drawing it on your mirror with a dry erase marker. You're giving them a visual. So 1 month here, second month there, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. So she says to me, okay, I want to grow my layers out. All right, I'm going to show you the layers. Here's her layers. Okay, those are her layers. That's the layers. All right. So she says to me, I want to grow my layers out. So I tell her, okay, the shorter we take it, the quicker it's going to get there. And then she says, no, I don't want to grow it out. I'm going to do that in green so you can actually see it. Okay. And those are the layers. And then she says to me, she says, no, I don't want to go short. I go, okay. So then let's stabilize this length. She goes, what do you mean? Let's take off 1/2 inch. Okay, so we take off 1/2 inch, which is what I just did, take it off. And then I tell her, I want to see you in 2 months, 8 weeks. So now when she comes back, I'm going to take, remember what we said, this is a 1/2 inch just for simplicity's sake. So when she comes back, I'm going to take a 1/2 inch off. Or I know I'm going to stabilize this. I'm going to take off 1 inch and I'm going to stabilize that so that as the month goes by, here's another 1/2 inch. So she's gained it. Now she comes in for another trim. I stabilize that. Now it's grown out to 1 length. Is this making sense, guys? You see? So what's so important is that you really have to understand that it's the communication. So if I tell her, she goes, well, I want to grow it long. Here's what they do, guys. You trim it like they want, but then this never catches up to it. Because as you trim it, this is getting longer and longer and longer, and they're both just, oh, this is so cool. I'm getting to this, man. Then what happens is, I don't know about you, but I'm having fun already. Then what happens is, oh, I got to go, yeah, green. Then what happens is all of this, can you see my excitement here? All of this grows like this. I'm going to go back to red. Sammy, you're so excited. Okay, so all of this, it just goes like this. You see the red, the layers never catch up with this. It just keeps going like this. So I have to stabilize this so that the layers get there. Is this making sense, guys? You see, so it's the communication, cutting it to the shortest layer or just short in general. Don't cut to the shortest layer, because if the shortest layer is up here, if that shortest layer is here, and you cut this to up to here, unless they want to do it, go for it. But if they say, I want to maintain my length, then you got to maintain the length, stabilize it. I want to see you at least every 2 months. So what you're going to do is there's where the growth width is in 2 months. Now you're going to take off 1 inch. Do you understand that, guys? You see, you stabilize it. Now, well, Sam, how do I know an inch, half an inch? That's half an inch. From the knuckle to your thumb, not the fingertip, not the nail tip, ladies, to the base of from the knuckle to the thumb, I guarantee, measure it on a ruler. That's about a half an inch. Okay, so you see, you have to understand that communication builds your wealth. Say yes here with me so far on that, guys. Fatima is saying, I like how you allow your customer to embrace her current length before making a major change to her. Yes, that's so important. Embrace their length. Talk to them about it. Ask them, why do you want to go short? You know, let's gradually work to that short. Okay, all right. Thank you, Carrie. All right, so let's talk about something else now in regards to that. If you're with me, just say yes. Some of you are in there typing yes. Come on, interact with me. Get on that chat bar and just take yes. All right, so this is a key exercise to make a client understand how to grow their layers out, or even with fine hair. How do I maintain a healthy edge, Sam? Fine hair. Here's poor fine hair. They sit in our chair and they go like this. They pull it all forward, and then they grab it. They're like, please don't cut my length. It takes me forever to grow it. No, the length is growing. Your hair is fine in diameter. So when you brush it, it breaks, but you just don't feel or see the length. Does that make sense? So with fine hair, I need to stabilize it and tell them this story so that they understand. If you come in, let's say you fine hair. This is great. Listen to this. Listen now. I'm going to cut some hair. Don't worry. Okay. Fine hair. You want to grow it long? Okay, great. I want to see you every 2 months. We're going to gain, this is 1 inch. We're going to gain 1 inch. And every 2 months, I'm taking off half an inch. Now she's gained a half an inch of healthy hair. Does that make sense, guys? Now she comes back in. And I get, remember, we said this is 1 inch, a half an inch just to play so we can stay with each other. Okay. So then she comes in. I say, now let me see another 2 months. So there's another inch. Now she comes in. There's 3 months. Okay, actually, this is the first month again after I already cut it. Okay, I stabilize that right there. Now she comes back in. I get another half inch, another half inch. Every time she comes in, I take off a half an inch every 2 months. She's gained half an inch. That's national average now. I'm not saying that's how fast everybody's hair grows, but I hope you're getting the message of what I'm trying to share with you in regards to the long and the short of it. All right, cool. All right, so now let's cut some hair. All right, let me show you something in regards to length. And here's what we need to get. Watch. Okay. Most people on their edges, watch this now. Okay, most people on their edges, they're not looking for this so much anymore. For everything to be just cut straight across and for me to do this. Because a lot of times it sits blunt. Now, what we're doing a lot is we're going in and we're doing this. We're scanning and we're doing this. And we're cutting like this. Just like that. The reason we're doing that is because this gives me soft edges, okay? But what I want to do is, today what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how to cut the perimeter edge and get it to look like it wasn't just cut, to get it to look like it was cut about 2 weeks ago. Because you know what we do. If we cut this and we cut this blunt, it looks like it just walked out of salon. And don't misunderstand me here, guys, please. Okay, so here's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you, some might have seen this, but I'm going to show you. There are lots of things I'm going to show you. I'm going to cross hatch it. So I'm going to go in one direction. So let me draw this out for you so you can really see it, and then you'll see it, okay? Here's the length. Okay, that's the length. I'm going to go all the way across. All right, that's the hair. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, and I'm going to cut one direction. Look at that. See, I go in one direction. One direction, one direction, one direction. I work my way all the way across. But when I cut it this way, guys, now you're starting to see where I'm going here. Now, when I cut it this way, what happens is, look at the angle I got, okay? Let's just look at this one. Look at the angle I got. So that hair, all of this hair is going to tilt this way. What I want to do is I want to come back in and I'm going to crosshatch this. So now I come back the opposite way. Opposite way, see that? And I come back in opposite way. See what I'm getting now? Look at what I'm getting. See that? That's what I'm looking for. So what I'm actually doing is I cut one angle one way and I come back and I cut it another way. So that what we get is we get this effect to it. And when I get that effect to it, or I get these small triangles like that, that edge is softer. So what I'm trying to share with you here is don't just go in and point cut one direction. You want it to move. You've got to be, you want it to not move just one direction. You want to stabilize that angle and cut a triangle into it. Kelsey, can hair stop growing at a certain length? No, Kelsey, hair continually grows. It breaks. Okay, it breaks. Let me give you this another analogy. This is such fun today. It's like the lead of a pencil. Okay, hair is like the lead of a pencil, the pencil. Okay, the more I write with a pencil, the duller it becomes. Now I have to resharpen it. Okay, so what happens is people say, well, I'm gonna let my hair grow, and they don't never cut it. But then they get to a certain point, they go, my hair doesn't grow anymore. It's because the ends are like this. They come to a point. That point is so fragile that even simple brushing of this breaks. Even a 1/4 inch, it'll break. And then they don't notice that their hair is growing. So what we need to get our clients to understand is just like you put moisturizer on your skin every day, you need to get your hair trimmed at least 4 times a year. That's once every 3 months. Even the clients that have their hair down to here, get them to trim it. Those are the tough ones that don't want to trim it. All right, so let's go through and let's cut some hair. Are you getting this, guys, so far? Just type yes if you are, because I'm having a blast just talking about this. Does that cutting angle work for fine hair too? Yes, because it's got a blunt edge to it. But I wouldn't go so deep on fine hair. I keep the triangle more shallow, so that triangle on fine hair might look like this. Watch this. Might look like this. See, that has more weight than this does. Look how much space that has. See that? Now look how narrow this is. So you got to understand the fabric you're working regards to just, instead of just picking it up and cutting it. Dot says, I will blunt cut when they have been over layered and want to give them a strong line to get that vision of those layers coming down. Is that correct consultation? Yes, Dot. Dot, guess what I do? I'll go in, cut with a razor, okay, the whole head with a razor, but then I come back in and I might softly refreshen it with a little bit of point cutting just to refreshen those ends. So same type of concept, all right? All right, so let's cut some hair. And then I see another one is growing it out. Go ahead, Kurt. Okay. It's growing. How do we blend the fine hair to where we don't see all the cut lines? Jennifer, you need to invest in a tool. Okay, and I'm just being really honest here. I'm not trying to sell you on anything, but this is called an Beveling shear. Now, I'm going to put my finger really down on top of that, and it's not going to cut me. Okay, that's because this edge has been over polished. That's what I mean by this edge is over polished. So when I go to close, it pushes the hair. So what I get is I get these edges that are like this. They're scalloped edges. Instead of me getting like a blending shear, regular thinning shear, I get this. Okay, so I know what you're talking about, Dot. You're talking about when you layer blonde hair, you can see all the lines. Okay, that's why you want to scan. That's why you want to point cut. But if you really want to save the haircut, I highly recommend you go in and you invest in an Invisalign shear. I've got people telling me that when they use an Invisalign shear, they're amazed how that has actually saved their haircuts. A lot of Redken artists are telling me that because we're doing so much layering and because blondes are the toughest to layer because we can see everything. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to execute just what I showed you, all right? We're going to cross-hatch this. And I find I'm cross-hatching a lot of my lengths, scanning or point cutting. I'm doing very little blunt cutting now. And the reason being is because we're looking for softness. We're looking for lived in. We're looking for organic. We're picking up thermal tools. So you don't want bluntness because the blunt line just weighs it down. Okay. All right. Let's just take a section. I'm going to demonstrate a couple things here for you. And eventually what we're going to do is we're going to get to the fringe area. And I want to talk about that in terms of fringes because that's a very emotional area in regards to how short do you actually cut that. All right. So now we're here. Let's get rid of that. All right. All right. So let's go through. Now, if you think of any questions, guys, in regards to long and short of it, excuse my back. If you think of any questions in regards to long and short of it, just say it. Just type it in the chat. You know, this is a great opportunity for us to solve some of the issues or problems that you might be having at the chair. Now, watch what I'm going to do. Okay. Here's what I don't want. Watch this. Let's go in and let me just show you this blunt first. Let's just cut this blunt. Just trim up her edge. Okay. Now, that's not how I want her walking out of the salon. I want her walking it out with a little bit more of an edge that is softer. Okay, so watch what I'm going to do now. Now watch. So I'm going to take this. Now I'm going to go one direction. Watch how I'll take this now. Okay, I'm going to work from my right side to my left. So I'll come back in. Now watch what, and you're going to see the notching. Watch. Notch, notch, notch. Okay, you can see that. Look at that. See that? That's what I've created so far. So now that angle is only going one way, that way, that way. So that hair is going to tilt and flip that way. Does that make sense, guys? So we've got to be aware of, Sam, this is amazing. Even on when I'm cutting these lengths and I'm point cutting into this, these angles are so important. Yes, they are. So now look at that. So now here's what I want to do. Now I'm going to come back. I'll see my angles, my edges, and I turn my shear the opposite way. I go opposite way, opposite way, opposite way, opposite way. So that what I'm doing now is cutting those triangle edges into it. And by doing this, it's going to give me a much more edge that has softness to it already. That's not so blunt. Okay. So Sam, if you point cut the hair in one direction, then the hair growth will be more noticeable than if you point cut in both angles. Antonio, great question now. Hair growth. I'm going to address that. Okay. Hair growth does not come into play until I take it short. Let me give it to you this way, Antonio. The shorter you take something, the more the growth pattern takes over. The longer you leave something, the more gravity takes over. So growth doesn't really come into play in this. Where growth comes to play, Antonio, is when I'm cutting hair one length. Then I want to be able to comb this in its natural falling position and comb it where it actually lives. That's when I'm paying attention to this, if I'm cutting like a one length bob. Hope that helps you out, Antonio. You guys are asking some great questions. All right. So now, same thing, guys. Same thing. Watch again. So Sam, is it hard to follow? People are going, is it hard? It's not so precise. Look, get out of the precise mindset and develop a balance function mindset, meaning that your haircut needs to balance and it needs to function, but it doesn't necessarily have to blend in most cases in today's world. Now, back in the 70s and 80s, everything was blended because it was precision cutting. Now what we're doing is we're texturizing hair. We want softer edges. Why? Because trend has changed. They started picking up round brushes. And we discovered if I keep cutting them blunt, I'm not going to get the response from the round brushes. And then the last thing I want to do, guys, is go in and cut something blunt, then come back and spend 10 minutes after I blow dry it, going in and texturizing it. So what we've been encouraging people to do is, just as I'm doing here, texture as you go. See, I go opposite way, opposite way, opposite way. And once again, take a look at the triangle. See the triangle? Okay, that's important. So that now when she hits this with a round brush, it's got some response. Now when she goes back in and she goes in and uses her rollers, her set's going to hold a little bit because it's not so much blunt, one length, and holding itself down with gravity. Is this making sense, guys? Just type an S if it is. Okay. Okay. All right. I feel like notching ends that way would also make fine hair fall softer and not be weighted down so much. Is that correct, Kayla? Boom! Absolutely right. See, I'm going in and giving fine hair a blunt action. It needs a blunt action, but it doesn't need a blunt action that's straight across because I want to build weight. But she sets her hair because they want volume. So yeah, I would go in and cross hatch that fine hair. Yet, don't go so deep. Don't go so deep with fine hair. Does that make sense? You can still texture fine hair, but you can still create weight in it. Great questions. How do you feel about using thinning shears and texturing shears to do the ends in place of point cutting? Samantha, I sometimes may do that, yet it depends upon the fabric and the density. You know, sometimes I find I'm spending too much time in there with a texture shear, going back and forth and getting it until I get it. I prefer to come in here, get where I want, then come back in and maybe soften that edge that I put in that is cross-hatched. Does that make sense, my dear? Okay. Can we get the same outcome if we use razors? Lily, yes. Okay. So it's one direction, another direction, one direction, another direction. Now you're getting double the softness because of the edge the razor gives you and because of the space you're creating with that razor. Okay. You say a round brush. I have a curly headed client of mine that I'm going to do today, and I'm going to try this method so that the curl flows a little freer. Am I correct at this analogy? Yes, Sonia. But make sure, understand, you know, when you're going in with curly hair, watch it. You guys are asking great questions. When I go in with curly hair, guys, I don't want this to go, I don't go in like this. See, now I'm taking away all its friends. Go in at an angle, notch, 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 notch. But what I've done is I left thickness there, so that it kind of adds something to it. Hair will get frizzy if I thin out those ends too much. Like Andrew and I like to say at Sam Villa, we like to say the ends need friends, okay, with curly hair. And curly hair is another class of its own. We'll definitely have to do that in there again. Do you offer online classes? Ethels, we're offering online classes constantly. Go to redkinsamvia.com. Go to our YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, my question is, what are you waiting for? All of our education is free there. Go subscribe. And then when you subscribe, hit the call button, that little bell, so that when we do post something, which is once a week, you're going to be noticed. So that when we do something live, you'll get a little email reminding you we're going live. Look at that. See that? Now look at that. That could be perfect for fine hair because I've got weight to it, but I've also created separation so when she sets her hair. All right. So did you get that story, guys, in regards to length? What I did was I went in and talked about growth. And can you imagine if I'm doing this on my mirror and all this? I guarantee you everybody in the salon's going to go on, what's that guy over there doing? He's so intense. That's with intent and purpose, guys. You got to understand, at the chair today, the world's changed. We have to change what we were as a hairdresser and adjust. And you've got to create an experience. And you need to be a teacher at the change, at the chair. You got to be a teacher. Educate, educate, educate. That's so important, guys. All right, now let's go into, let's say, for example, she wants a fringe. All right, so I'm going to cut her a fringe here. All right, now let's just go in and let's cut a fringe. Now watch this, guys. All right, so I'm going to take it. I just bloused it there to go in and tell me where that wants to separate. Now I'm going to warn you. Basically, what's important here is anytime we cut a fringe, you've got to blow dry this. Okay, you have to blow dry these, guys. If you don't blow dry this fringe, then that's where we have a problem with the long and the short of it. Okay, the long and the short of it. First thing I'm going to tell you this is when a client tells me to cut a fringe shorter, I'm going to just be really point blank with this. Just you and me right now. No clients are here. Do me a favor. Don't listen to them. Okay, you have to understand this. Watch what I'm going to share with you in regards to fringes here. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is blow dry this. Okay, that's the first thing. So I'm going to pick up the new Midnight Blue. That's right, the limited edition of the ETC light. And I'm just going to come in now. Watch this. Fringes, okay, the long and short of it. You know, this is an emotional area, the fringe. So we have to understand that. So the idea is cut it dry. Reason being, you're placing it in its final end result. So that way you can get the length exactly where you need it. Sometimes when you cut these wet, there could be calyx and things underneath there that pop it up and you took the length where you thought you need to take it. Now it's shrunk and it's too short. Okay, so cut the fringes dry. So let's set up the analogy. Here's a scenario. Client says, I want a fringe. I tell her, okay, Louise, I'm happy to cut a fringe on you, but you have a widow's peak. You got a calic. Okay, sorry for my countries that are on board here if that doesn't make sense, but there's erratic growth pattern. Let's say it that way professionally. There's an erratic growth pattern. For my close friends, that's a calic or growth. So the first question I ask them, Louise, I'm happy to cut the fringe, yet are you up for the maintenance? And she looks at me and she goes, what do you mean, Sam? Because of this calic, you will need to spritz this down with a water bottle every day. And you're going to spritz it down with a Sam Villa water bottle. By the way, Louise, we sell these. Yes, we do. Put your tanning lotion in these. Go ahead and spray your plants with these. It's a great mister. As you know, some plants use it at the pool. Guys, retail these things. But what I want you to do is just spritz this in the morning, Louise. After you spritz that, I want you to pick up your blow dryer. You're going to use the fine tooth of the comb, and you're going to go in one direction. Then you're going to come back in the opposite direction. If I use a brush, it is too high off the base of the scalp, and I'm not affecting the growth pattern. So I want to teach her how to use the fine teeth of the comb. So I teach her how to come in. I'll put that on low so you can hear. I teach her how to come with the fine. Now look at the spine of the comb. Look at that. And see how I follow that? I come one direction. Then I teach her, go the opposite direction. Opposite direction. You need to do this every morning. If you don't do this every morning, Louise, I professionally recommend that we do not cut a fringe. And she goes, well, I don't know if I'm going to do it. Then you're not going to like it, because when you wake up in the morning, it's going to be popping up. So you have to understand that a fringe is high maintenance. It requires maintenance. Do you commit to the maintenance? Yes, I do. Okay, then let me show you how you're going to dry it. She goes, well, why are you drying it? I'm drying it first because I want to get the length where it goes. That's why I'm drying it. And I'm showing you how to dry it. Matter of fact, Louise, give me your phone and let's put your phone on my station and let's videotape me blow drying this so that you remember how to blow dry it. How cool is that? How cool is that? That's an experience. Blow dry, videotape what you are teaching them to do. Is this working, guys? Because I tell you what, I'm working my butt off here trying to get this information. Excuse me. I'm working myself off here trying to get this information to you to make sure you got it. You know, at Sanvia, we care about you guys. You got to get this. It's time that we change, guys. Time we change. Do me a favor. Share this live. Come on, get on your phone and share it. Come on, get on there and text some people and tell them, get on this. There's some huge learning going on here. All right, so now watch. So can you see how I showed her how to dry that? Now look at this. Look at that. Now it's all falling the way I want it to fall, the way she's going to blow dry that. That's so critical. All right, now let's go in and let's cut. One of the first things I'm going to do to her is I'm going to ask, when I cut the fringe, I tell the client, close your eyes. And she says, okay. And they think I'm asking them to close their eyes so that I can go in and not get any hair in their eyes. And then when I do that, actually, the reason I'm having them close their eyes is take the emotion out of it. You ever cut a fringe with a client's eyes open and they're like this? They're like that. They're just looking all over the place. So you've got to understand that. That's important, guys. All right. So I'm going to do a couple things here. All right. First, let's cut a nice blunt fringe. Let's just cut it nice and blunt. So what I want to do is I really want to go through, and I like using the bridge of the nose as my guide. So my middle finger, my knuckle is on the bridge of the nose. And then I'm going to cut, and I'm just going to come through. Now look how I scan. Look at that. See, even the fringes scan the fringes. So the guiding blade is resting on my ring finger. Can you see that? And then the action blade is my thumb. I just slowly scan and move it across, just like a computer scan. Now you're probably saying to me, Sam, that is so long. Pause there, guys. Pause there. How many times have you been? I don't know about you, but I'd go to the grocery store and I'd run into a client and I see her fringe, and her fringe is like a little sausage roll, and you can see a tunnel passing right under it. You ever been there? Have you seen that? That's because she took a curling iron and did this. Now, when she comes back, she goes, you cut my fringe too short. No, Louise, I saw you at the store. I know what you do. You take a curling iron, you do this to it to bevel it under it. Now what you've done is you made it shorter by doing that. Does that make sense, guys? So watch what I'm going to do. Notice I'm taking it section by section. She wants a nice, blunt, heavy fringe, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm working with a white comb on dark hair, and I happen to be working with our Streamline 625. I work with a smaller shear when I work with these fringes. And the reason being is because sometimes I want to cut this fringe to the round of the head. If I have too long of a shear, it's cutting too long of an extension of a straight line. Now I'm coming back and taking off corners and working around that curve. So I find just doing it this way works great. Now take a look at that. Look at what I've done here, okay? And then you're saying, well, that's so long, Sam. Well, watch what I'm going to teach Louise to do when she finishes this. So I come through. And look at my guide blade. It rests on my ring. Look at my action, which is my thumb. Okay, look at that. See that? Okay, now that's the fringe. But you're saying, she's going to say, take it shorter, Sam. I say, Louise, hold on now. Let's make sure that we finish this properly. So the idea is go through and show her. All right, I'm showing her. Here's a flat iron. I don't want you to use a round brush and a blow dryer. I want you to pick up your flat iron. So she picks up her flat iron. Then I have her pick up a small round brush, sand via thermal. Okay, midnight blue, sleeker. Okay, so the idea once again is this. So watch this. Watch me bevel this, and then watch how that length is going to lift. Okay, so I'm going to come through. It's going to give you a 3/4 view here. Okay, so Sam, you're kidding. You're not using a comb. No, see, there's the heat. Now that's you in a round brush with a blow dryer. But look what I'm doing. Simple heat. Now watch me go this. Watch this. Look how I move before I close, and I close lightly. Then I roll. So that's my heat. Now look at that. Look at that eye now. It's exposed. So do you understand, guys? You have to understand not to take them so short. That's so important. That makes sense, see? And then what I do is this, all right? Now listen to what I'm about to tell you. Louise, Sam, I think I want a little shorter. Louise, this is exactly where it needs to be. As you can see, now that I beveled that, it's shortened up. So Louise, you are now eligible for fringe benefits because we've cut a fringe. What do you mean, Sam? Louise, I want you to come in. You're eligible for one fringe benefit, meaning you get one free fringe trim in between your haircuts appointments. I want to stabilize this length for you. I don't want you cutting this yourself. And I'm driving her back into the salon, and I guarantee you it's free. I guarantee you she's going to say, Sam, what was that shampoo and conditioner you told me to get? I want to get it now. That's her way of saying thank you. Is this making sense, guys? Throw some hearts, man. Come on, throw some love if you got it, if you're getting it. But take a look at that. You can see, guys, how, just simply going in and doing that, how it makes a difference. You with me on that so far? All right, cool. All right, so now let's go through and let's talk about the crowns. Okay, would you have them blow dry them, then do the straightener and round brush? Melissa, yes, you blow dry first, then you go in and you use your flat iron, your sleeker, and your round brush. It's the best way to go in and get them to do that, all right? All right. How we doing, guys? Yeah, you want to blow dry. You want to blow dry these fringes. Blow dry the fringe before you cut, okay? All right, Melissa, perfect, good. Mary Bell, yes? All right, good. Now, let's go to the crown, okay? Sam, what? I have an issue with clients in regards to, take it shorter on the top. I want more volume. Take it shorter on the top. I want more volume. Let me just say this, guys. The shorter we take something on the top, the less volume they're going to have. So you got to remember that. In order to get volume, I need length. Now, I know what your little voice is thinking. Your mind's thinking, yeah, but Sam, if I leave length, it weights it down. It weights it down. Well, here's the thing. That's why we texturize, where you soften or you cut a nice soft edge. So let's talk about that. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to divide this front to back. Okay, watch how I'm going to divide that front to back. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. All right. Then I'm going to come through, and all I want to do, I want to take just where that comb comes off at that middle part right here, right there. I'm just going to take from that recession area. I'm going to layer just this top right now, just so I can show you. So let's just focus on this. Okay, so this is not, just remember, this is an exercise. This is not about a haircut, guys, all right? Just want to make that perfectly clear. We're talking about how long do you take something, how cut something, how short do you cut something? Is just because they would say they want it short, do I cut it short? Sometimes when I started out as a hairdresser, I would listen to the clients because I felt that's what I needed to do. So I would listen to them and I would cut them short. They'd come back and they'd say, you cut it too short. And then my little voice is going, well, that's how short you wanted it. So I've discovered ways where I can communicate now that really help me to be successful at that chair. And the idea is this, it's all about your communication, as I said in the beginning. So I'm going to isolate this. Remember, this is not about a haircut, but you might get something out of this in regards to a haircut. All right, so here we go. All right, so now let's just divide this down the middle, okay? And I just want to talk to you about something here. Now watch what I'm going to do, okay? So this is that top that I sectioned, okay? I know I want this to have some volume to it. So the idea is, how short do I take this up here? Well, here's what I would recommend. Simply ask the client, when you want the volume on the top, do you use a round brush? And she's going to say, well, yeah, I do use a round brush. I said, okay, then let's establish the length based upon the size of round brush you use. She goes, what do you mean? Tell me what you use, small, medium, or large. And she says to me, Oh, Sam, I normally will go in with like about a small brush. I go, okay. So a brush like this size? She goes, yes. All right, so take a section of hair. Watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take a section of hair from the top. Now watch. I'm going to wrap that around the brush. Now, that's how short I'm going to take her top. You see, I'm going to guarantee that she gets her favorite brush around her, she's able to get her hair around her favorite brush. Does that make sense? Sometimes I've cut these things so short, they come back and say, I couldn't get the hair around my round brush. I did not like it. Okay. So important. Then when they see you doing things like this, see, that's a visual experience. She goes, what are you doing? Well, I want to make sure you get your round brush around the length that I'm going to establish on the top. So guess what? That's my guide. So now I come in and I cut my guide. So you see how the communication, how I made that happen in terms of being aware of what's her length. All right. So important, guys. So now watch. Excuse me. That's the length I'm going to establish on the top. So now watch how I'm going to establish this. Let's bring her down a little bit. Okay. I'm going to stand on the opposite side. It's one of the best things I learned here. Now, I know I want it longer back there, but I know I got my guide. See my guide? It's in my hand. But I'm going to cut an angle that does this, short to long towards that back. So that's my shortest piece there. Now my angle I'm cutting is here. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? Now watch. I'm going to give you a top view of this. You got to see this. All right. So just bear with me in just a moment. Okay, watch. Let's take her to the top view. Okay, there, you get a little better view of that. This is her back. This is the front. Now watch. Here's my guide underneath. Okay, there's my guide. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to angle my finger angle 45 degrees out so that what I'm getting is I'm getting the shortest piece that I'm going to have is going to be that guide in the front. That's my guide. Now I would know I want some length in the back based upon because she's got longer hair. Now I'm going to come through and once again, watch this. Look at me scan. See how I come through and I scan? Okay. So I'm very little am I cutting these things long. Now watch this. Let's take a look at this on the side view and watch how this collapses. Okay. Just watch how this collapses. My length, shortest length was determined by her round brush. So now watch. When I comb through this, look at how I'm getting longer as I go to that back. That's what's so cool about this, guys, in terms of that. But now she's got her favorite brush and she can get it around that. Let's go to the opposite side. So now how do you cut that opposite side, Sam? You simply come through and you're going to take a guide. You're going to take a guide down that center. Just a small slice. Watch this now. You're going to see this from straight on here. Okay, now watch. I look for my guide. Okay, here's my short piece. There it is there. And then it leads me back to my long piece and the angle. And I cut that again. Okay, and then it leads me back to short to long. Now watch what happens. Now remember, this haircut's not blended. We just did the top. This is not about a haircut. This is about how short do I take the tops. That's the story I'm trying to give you now. And use your round brush as a gauge. Okay, so now take a look. Now look at the volume I'm starting to get out of that. Do you see the volume I'm getting out of that, guys, based upon that? So it's really important. What I'm trying to share with you here in this story is use your round brush to gauge how long or how short you take the top. Now, once I do that, I think it was Dottie that asked me, now I'm going to come through and now with layers, guys, talk about texture. You know, let's go through the top. Like so I'm going to texture. Sam, how short do I take it inside here? Now, when I do this, you can expect natural growth to take over. So if she's got strong growth pattern, it's Asian hair, I guarantee you, taking it this short is probably going to stand up. Hair that has a little more pliability. Well, Sam, how short do I know to take something? I want you to read it. I want you to read it, even when you texturize it. So when you're here, I want you to bend it. See the bend? So now I know that if I cut that there, it's too short. Now it's getting some bend. So what I like to do is I like to cut it at the end of the bend. So right here is where I'm going to come through and I'm going to texturize that. See, so I'm letting the hair tell me how short. I'm not necessarily a believer about short hair supports long hair. Short hair takes weight out, gives long hair the ability to have more pliability. Does that make sense? So you have to understand how short or how long you take something. Check this out. I got to share with you. Look at my little guy here. Look at, he's got the paper. He's got having a good time. He's looking, loving the haircut. That's my little guy right there. Go ahead, eat it up. So now you know what I do with my flip charts. He eats them. All right. So what I'm trying to share with you here is, how do I know how short? What I don't want you to do is just picking up here and going, okay, so let's texturize. Okay. You have to be aware of what you just did there. What I want you to do is every time you pick up a section, read it where you see it. And yes, where I'm holding, I'm going to get some bend. But the point I'm trying to make is I'm making the effort to read it, to know where to take that. Does that make sense, guys? That's what's so important. Okay. All right. Are you learning something here? Okay. This can be applied on long hair too. Yes, Leandro. Yes, but Leandro, what I would recommend you do on long hair, when I'm cutting these tops on long hair, thank you, Kurt. What I like to do is I like to create zigzag sections, because the longer the hair is, the more you can see those layers. So if you go in and you create zigzag sections when you're cutting long hair, you're going to get more diffused edges. So that also is a great way to go in there and take care of that. All right. What's your dog's name? Yeah, his name is Charlie. That's Charlie. All right. Is this helping you out, guys? Really, is this helping you out? So it's the same thing, guys, in terms of angles in the front. Sam, where do I start an angle in the front? You got to base that and ask them, do you ever put your hair in a ponytail? See, it's communication. The good Lord gave us two of these. As a hairdresser, we need to use these more than we use this. And when we use this with intent and purpose. So I want you to really listen to understand. Don't listen to be understood when you reply. Listen to understand. So the way you listen to understand is the more questions you ask, the more successful you're going to be. So watch. Client comes in. She says, Sam, I want an angle. I go, great. Let's cut an angle. How are the kids? Now what I did was, because her fringe is there, I took this angle and I blended it in from there. When I'm done, she says to me, oh, wow, it's so short up here. What she really meant was she wanted her angle to start down here at her jawline. Does that make sense? Why? Because she likes to take this hair and pull it back in a ponytail. But I never asked her that. The long and the short of it is based upon your questioning skills. Questions are life's greatest resource for learning. The only way we're going to learn is if we ask. So the only way I'm going to get to know the needs and the expectations and the desires of this guest and this client is if I simply ask. So do you pull your hair back in a ponytail? You do. You do a lot of workout. I would not recommend, listen to my conversation, I wouldn't recommend that we angle this up unless you really want to. If we do that because you desire that, you need to know you're not going to be able to pull this back for yoga. So tell me, what's the priority? To get a nice blended angle, or is the priority to be pull it back? Key word, priority. I'm not going to talk her into anything. I go by the priority, and then I give her suggestions based upon that priority. Is that making sense, guys? You got to get this. So now watch what I'm going to do. She says, I want it to start right at my lip area. I'll go, okay, no problem. So watch. I take it right from that recession area, triangle going back, a diagonal section going back. And I've got time enough to show you this one side here. If you learned something today in this short little period of time, an hour flies so fast, just write yes in there if you've learned something today. Okay, watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to come through. There's that lip area. You see, that's that lip area. So that sets up my guide. Then from there, she tells me she wants to leave the length. Here's the length. Now I want to go in. I know that's that lip area. Here's the length. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a view of it this way so you can see. You still can see. Now look at my shear. Now I'm going to come in. I'm just going to go through. And now look how I, not slide cutting, how I talk and walk to that edge. And now I've got the angle. And that angle starts at her lip, but look at the angle working itself down. Does that make sense, guys? It's so important you understand that. And I would do the same thing if it started up in the French. Let's do it one more time. Okay, so now I'm working all of the hair in this front area, and we're talking now about establishing length on angles. Where do you determine to start that? Sometimes it's based upon facial features. They'll say, they might say, what do you think works best with my face? So if the focus is in the eyes, and her eyes will bring the attention, I'd start the angle up here. If the focus is the lower third, I'd start the angle down here. And that's what I tell Louise. Louise, when I look at you, my focal point goes right to the lower third. Okay, so let's start that angle there. See how that works. To the next visit, let's take it to the upper third. Is this making sense, guys? See, I need you to get, I'll give you another view of this on the profile. I need you to get how communication skills, I keep saying it, but it's communication skills that build your wealth. Let me give you an example. When I had my salon, I had one girl in San Mateo, California. She was an awesome person. And no matter how many classes I gave her, I got to be honest, and she knows this story, she was an okay hairdresser. But I got to tell you, she was one of the busiest people in the salon. And the reason she was busy was it was based, see that? It was based upon her communication skills. She made people feel great. She asked a lot of questions, but her work was okay. So what bothered me was I want her work to be great. See, that was about me. But what I understood as time went on was as long as her clients were walking out happy and the way she had her communication skills, it was about her clients and not about what kind of work I wanted to see walking out the salon. So you have to understand that I really believe that that's, building your communication skills in today's world is so, so important, guys, especially today in terms of how you communicate. Now you can just start to see how that angle starts at that lip area? Okay, how can we buy your products from Canada? Lily, the way you can buy our products from Canada is check out the Redken distributors in Canada. They should be able to help you. If they're not ever able to help you, then I want you to go directly to our website and purchase from our website. That's the best way I can help you out there. Carrie, communication is key. Yes, Gloria, you're welcome. Carmen, gracias. All right, guys, so let's recap. We talked about establishing length and how the communication, once again, the hot tip I gave you here was, let's use a dry erase marker on the mirror. Can you imagine if I was in a salon and I didn't do hair and I walked in and saw a mirror like this? I'd be going, wow, that's pretty intense. Now, when it's time for me to cut her hair, I erase it. Now we're back to a clean mirror. But can you see how I gave her a visual there? We talked about the average growth of hair is half an inch a month. So if fine hair says I want to grow my hair out, or they say I want to grow my layers out, then you got to stabilize it. So when every time she comes in 2 months, 8 weeks later, you're taking off an inch. And we determined just for our visual, this was an inch. If she says, I want to go in, I want to grow my hair long, but it doesn't seem to grow, that's the story where you say, I want to see you every 2 months, but we're taking off half an inch. So we've gained half an inch. You see how that works, guys? When you give them that visual, they're like, you know what, Sam? You seem to know what you're talking about. Do whatever you want.
Hey, Sam.
Yes, buddy.
That's a piece of work I think Mateo Villa might have drawn up there. Do you want to step aside and allow our viewers to enjoy the fine work?
Well, I don't know what they're going to get out of that, but feel free, take a screenshot. Maybe they can use that as a reminder. But take the screenshot of that. Maybe you can use that as a reminder visually about your communication skills. Keep it on your phone. And then that way you've got something to refer to on that. Are you still offering shear and tool packages? Yes, we are, Carrie. Make sure you go to our website and check that out. We always continually have things going on. Cheryl, this technique would be fantastic for clients with slightly wavy hair. It brings movement throughout. Yes, it does. It certainly does. All right, Kurt. I've had some fun, guys. I mean, it's amazing, Kurt, how an hour just flies by. And once I get into it. But we talked about length and fringes. We talked about length in length itself. We talked about length and fringes, and we talked about establishing length in regards to angles and things like that.
That guy can teach. Didn't really learn anything today. I think a little bit was learned today. A great job today, Sammy. It really was. I always marvel about how much I learn. I'm not a hairdresser, everyone. You obviously know that by now. But it's amazing in the years I've been with Sam and how I've been hanging around Sammy before we started this company and even to this day. It blows me away how often I learn so much, and by the enthusiasm I still get from Sam every time he steps in front of us to teach. And Sam, I can only say as a dear friend of yours, I just continually shake my head and how committed and passionate you are to teach, brother.
My pleasure, brother. My pleasure. Now let's go back up to a couple things. Can you please have a class about your shears and thinning shears? I need training so I can buy the right ones. Lily, guys, I'm going to tell you, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. There's a class in there already on our shears where I talked about texturizing shears, which one to use, how to use them, what they are. Andrew's done the same thing. We have over 3 million minutes have been watched on our YouTube. We have over 700 and 75,000 subscribers on our YouTube. Our YouTube channel is our home base for all of our education and all of our lives. So if you're not subscribing, I highly recommend subscribe, press the bell so you get alarms on when we post and when we're coming up live. But all of your questions and just about anything are answered there. And also Wellness Wednesdays is posted in our YouTube and in our Facebook. So make sure you check that out. You'll find all the answers there for that.
Sam, I think we have 1 billion videos on YouTube right now.
We do. Also, Juman, curly hair. All right. Listen, guys, I'm not a curly hair expert. I'm not going to claim to be a curly hair expert. We've had guests on that are curly hair experts, and that is in our YouTube channel too. I only understand the basics of what I've learned over the years in curly hair and texture, and I'm now taking classes from Mazzani so that I can learn more in regards to curly hair and how to work with it. But yes, there's a basic class I can give you on curly hair in regards to Sam's perspective on it, but I highly recommend our YouTube channel and check out some of the people we've had on Mazzani for our curly hair. And then also I recommend follow us on IG, on our Instagram handle, and get other people to follow us, guys. Share this education. Come on. Artists supporting artists, stylists supporting stylists. There's so many people that don't know about us. Share our information with them.